Hey everybody, welcome to Not A Cigar Show. I'm Fred Rui, your host, guide, whatever the hell you want to call me. I'll answer to that. Cigarpress.com. Go visit there. Look at me knowing how to do plugs now. This is episode 16. It is not episode 16 if you're following along at home. I make up the numbers completely, but the number does have something to do with the guest. In this case, it's 16. Not going to put them on the spot and make them guess, but you at home, if you figure it out, send me a message at cigarpress.com. You're not going to win anything. You'll get bragging rights, and that's probably as good as, what else could you want? My guest is larger than life founder of Smoking Cigars and the mastermind behind the Microblend series. He's known affectionately as Honest Abe, Big Delicious, a whole lot of other names that I can't say on the air. He's turned a single shop into basically a regional empire, hosts a lively Kiss My Ash radio show, which about every 6 weeks is a killer show because I'm on it, and throws one of the cigars world's favorite parties, the Great Smoke. Please welcome this retailer that never stops innovating, Abe Dababneh. Thanks for coming on the show, man.
No, man, I'm glad to be here. It's funny, I don't even know if you realized it, but you called it Kiss My Ash Radio, which tells you how long.
Did I?
Yes, it's good.
Oh, wow.
Most people don't know that because they haven't been following or on the show, or on the show long enough, because those were the really early years. I mean, we've been officially KMA Talk Radio for, God, I don't know, long.
Oh, wow. I still just think of it as Kiss My Ash. You're right. All I see is branding is KMA, but it never occurred to me that
don't even know. I bet you
Yeah.
a lot of our current or newly found, fans and people who watch the show or listen to the show don't probably even know that that's what it stands for, Kiss My Ash Radio. When we were being syndicated.
Right.
I think at one time we were in 7 different cities on terrestrial radio. And it was a program manager in Atlanta. And this was early on, like we were only on in 2 cities at the time. He's like, look, man, you might want to think about changing the name. I'm like, why? It's Ash. It's not Ash. Program. Yeah, and especially because like a lot of one of the companies who owned a lot of stations across the country is like a Bible Belt company,
Oh, right.
Like, it doesn't really, and it's really funny after he mentioned that. Like, I had one guest who didn't want to come on the show. I can't remember, he did something on social media or something that made him go viral, and we wanted to get him on the show, but he didn't like the name.
Really?
Yes. So
wow,
we ended up rebranding on KMA to KMA Talk Radio. So I'm not used to hearing people say Kiss My Ash Radio.
I don't know it by any other name. I was on the show back when we all did it in the studio and we couldn't smoke, but there were really good bagels. Hey, pick a number between 1 and 5 so you can pick out what cigar I'm having. 4. All right. We're going Aging Room Sonata. So nice choice there. So my producer tells me that is an absolute lie because I do not have a producer. But I'm just going to go with it and pretend that I do. You're originally born in Chicago. Is that right?
Yep. County General.
And your parents are both Jordanian?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So what was it like? You grew up, your father ran a grocery store. What was it like growing up in Chicago in, you're not going to remember early 70s, but by mid 70s, you're scrapping around.
Actually, my memories kind of go back. I think I dated to about 3 years old. I have memories of being 3.
Okay.
We lived the typical, Gen X childhood, ran in the streets, played, went to school. The only thing I could say was different than my peers at the time is I worked early, going to work again on Sunday morning. At first it was like, I remember going really young, maybe like in the 5s here, but I remember going like, I don't know what the purpose was, because maybe because my brother was a baby and my mom wanted to just deal with one child at the house at the time. But like, I remember early going Sunday. Well, if you really want to go really far back when my dad first came to this country, got his first little business, which was like a convenient, 25-cent candy shop store. They used to have a plate pen in the back. So like, that was my daycare in the back of the little store. But my dad used to take me Sunday mornings. And I remember like, do you remember old AMPs?
Yeah.
NPs. Remember those grocery stores with the grease?
Yeah.
Dating ourselves now. they had acquired an old AMP after like a lot of them went out of business. So it was a pretty big grocery store and they had an office. And I remember going and just kind of coloring my coloring book, you know, doing stuff like that, killing time. And then when we moved to close by to where my parents currently live, where I grew up, I remember that area because my dad had bought the grocery store at that time, which basically I kind of got involved in as a young adult until I moved to Florida, and then eventually we sold it. So to go back, how far back I'm going, I started kindergarten when we moved to that area.
Okay.
So at kindergarten, so the time I'm talking about the AMP is before kindergarten. So I think kindergarten's what, five?
Yeah.
So but when he got that grocery store, I remember working. I remember filling up the milk, when the milk was low in the milk cooler. And, I think by 8 or 9, I was working registers. And I remember sometimes during holidays, and it shows you how crazy the world was back then, I would ask the bus driver to drop me off at the corner of the main street here, because normally he would have to drive another 3 or 4 blocks,
Right.
and drop me off there where my house was. But he would drop me off the main street so I can catch a public bus to go to 25 minutes to meet my dad at the shop and work there at about 5th grade, whatever age that was. So it was just part of, hey, you got nothing better to do, work,
But
So
but that's that's unusual. I mean,
I don't think it's
I don't know.
unusual for immigrants. I don't
For
think it's unusual
now,
for
today. And but I mean, so you grew up in a different work ethic than I did. Like, look, I started working young, but I was not like 8 years old helping my dad with computers, that were the size of my house. I mean, so you shaped your work
that's a
ethic
different
very
kind of
young.
work. We had basically labor work. You could fill a
Right.
milk cooler, you could fill up the tomatoes, you could price them,
Right.
and put it on the shelf. So there was a lot of work for us to be done. So my brother and I really grew up mostly working in the store. And then like at 15 and 16, I started getting other jobs, but I always worked at the store every holiday, every, big weekend, July 4, all the busy grocery, Memorial Day, Thanksgiving, all the busy grocery store weekends. So it always stayed part of my life until literally I moved away.
Right.
And it was just part of our culture and how we grew up. And I kind of incorporated it into my kids. I mean, my daughter has been helping and working for a long time now. She actually has a team that comes to the warehouse to help us when we have like our cigar of the month club packs that need to be packed, or our like our upcoming Advent and Hanukkah boxes for the holidays. My son Asher, when he comes, I make him clean the ashtrays, wipe stuff down, so I think it's good.
Sure.
These there's parents who don't ever make their kids do anything. And I'm not sure. Look, even when we didn't go to work, my mother, Saturday, we want to go out and play. My mother, now we wouldn't have to do the whole house, but one of us was in charge of Windexing and doing all the windows, and the other one was in charge of taking the pledge bottle and doing all the wood furniture and the wood.
Right.
When that was done, we'd have to go out.
Then he could play.
Yeah. So, because, these are farmer mentalities.
Right.
Both my mom's family were basically farmers, and you're out there milking cows and doing shit before you go to school.
Right.
So, it's just a culture, So, I think that's where the work ethic starts.
Just the ethic comes in. So where do the cigars come in? My understanding is it's like you played football in high school, right?
I did.
And that's where the cigars came in, which is not.
That's where that's where my first experience in having a cigar was. And it was a Swisher Sweet. We were still 18. But my senior year was the best year that my high school ever had in football. We went down to state finals, and it was a good year for us. And we got in the habit of smoking Swisher Sweets in the locker room. So that's how. That was not the locker room, but we'd break them out.
Right.
After a win, but that's where my experience enjoying cigars was. And then it wasn't until after high school, I had a cousin, and I'll never forget. He was so happy he had found. Gonna take you a little back here, Fred. He was so happy he found an El Rico Habano at the time, which was an old cigar.
Wow.
That Ernie was rolling here in Little Havana, before he had sold La Gloria Cubana, and it just received like a 92, maybe an aficionado for like at that time, maybe a $3 cigar.
Mm-hmm.
He was so excited. He found some, and I started asking questions, and he gave me one. And I think that's where my delve into premium cigars. And I started buying my first humidor and started going to famous shops in Chicago, like Uptown Tobacco and Jack Schwartz and stuff like that.
So you started getting into it at that point. Now you're going to college. You went to Loyola? Is that right?
I don't know if you heard that from me or you tried to do a little research. I was a Hoosier. I went to Indiana University. I went there for a couple of years. After my second year, I stayed home and tried to continue my education at Loyola University in Chicago. But, you get brainwashed that, you have to finish school. Just college wasn't my thing.
Right.
I wasn't a good student. I think I was bored a lot. And when the end of that whole, brainwash of, you have to go to college occurred when I was home in Loyola. My uncle started a company. You probably met him. He's been at the Great Smoke. My uncle comes with my dad every year. And I started part-time with him. And, if you're anybody who kind of remembers college, especially, you pretty much college is, even if you don't borrow money to go to college, it's good at putting you in debt.
Right.
You get your first credit card, and if no one's really sat down and teach you about credit and credit cards, like, you fucking run it up.
Right.
You go to, and then I went from going in debt to, I'm making money, and I'm good at this. So got a lot more excited. So I think I might have, I think I dropped out of my second semester at Loyola University and just started my own graphics company at the time while I was working with my uncle. And
so what was your uncle's business?
So my uncle, a business he had started up, it was supplies for the independent grocery market, which is really big up in big cities, right? Independent grocers. Down here where we live in Florida, it's like a Publix or a Winn-Dixie, and that's all you got, or the Super Targets or whatever. But in Chicago growing up, independent grocers, guys who weren't affiliated or chains, did a lot. And it's
right.
Right. So his company sold the shrink wrap, the foam trays, the pairs would come in, the paper signs that went up on the thing, the white butcher paper for the butcher t-shirt bags for carrying groceries out, all the supplies. And he built it from ground up. So I was there when he was building it. And then I started my own graphics company on a side tangent to that. And that started taking off. And part of my graphics company was I had met all these people who I had dealt with when I was working with my uncle in the grocery business. So I kind of came up with a really unique product, which, it's really funny. If I had a different kind of father, I might have not been in the cigar game today, because product at the time was so innovative. Like, if my son had come up with this and I saw what he was doing, my entrepreneurial instinct would be like, okay, dude, we got to go get an office. We need to get hit the street.
Right.
This is huge. Right. And in defense of my father, I'm 22, something like that, 21, 22. So my product was basically, most of the produce markets, and produce was always the problem, used paper sign. So these guys were buying $300 to $500, sometimes $200, $300, $400, $500 a month in these large, medium, and small signs that they'd write tomatoes, 79 cents, blah, blah, blah. And, they got sprinkler systems in there. So they shine.
Right. Right.
And the price of produce goes up every week.
Like,
fine. So, there's always the slick ones that would try to make an organizational system where they'd file them in tomatoes. They'd have it like at 49, 39. But they get trashed from water. So I made this really cool system where I had an order book. You could pick your designs, whatever. I had pre-printed designs, or if you wanted custom work, there was a fee, but we could put your logo on these signs. They were completely reusable, plastic coated. And I sold the solution to wipe them down. You were able to write on them with permanent marker. So sprinklers didn't make them stain, nothing. And they looked great. And it was a high margin. Like, I was making like 90% margin.
Right.
So I'd go out and get a big gig, $8,000, $7,000, some $9,000. And I wouldn't work for 2 weeks. 3 weeks. I'm 20-some years old. I'm having fun. I'm going to spend my money. Then my bank account would get low. I'd run out, go get another big gig. I would do the work, and then you had your sheet. So you got bok choy, small, medium, large sign, whatever. And it was all really organized. And I just go out and get a gig when I needed money. And then I pound it out overnight in my basement, like 3-4 days. I wouldn't work for 2-3 weeks. So that drove my father nuts because that's not a job. Right.
Right.
So he basically, it was a lot of fighting between me and him. I'm like, I'm 20 something years old. I'm in my young 20s. I don't need anything from you. You don't,
Right.
Ask you for nothing. In fact, I would have I think at one point I did ask him to move out. He didn't want me to move out because, you don't waste your money on rent. Okay. What is it you're mad about?
Right.
I didn't understand, but, I get it. It wasn't the best way to work. But like I said, if I was that, I'm like, dude, this is you got something great here.
Yeah. Let's roll this out to multiple cities. Yes.
Yeah. We need to blow this shit up. Probably might have had a different career altogether. So, as to appease my father in my many days of not doing shit, I ended up, he said, well, you got to work 3 or 4 days a week with me in a grocery store. I'm like, whatever. That's going to make you happy, whatever. So I ended up starting there just to kill time and appease my old man. But like anything else, I wasn't just going to dawdle my time there. So even though that's not what I wanted to do or where I wanted to be, I just did a lot of things that made it better. I implemented my own sign system in our store,
Right.
made displays. I always had a graphic kind of background and eye. So, cleaned shit up, made it better. And my dad had a partner for 25 years at the time, his brother. And I guess he saw me working like that and may have thought to himself, maybe this kid wants it. Having no idea. I wanted nothing to do with it.
Right.
Came in until my dad basically, I think I'm going to retire. I'm out. Next thing I know, I was running the grocery business with my dad full time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then ended up being so good at it that the cooperative, which is the people we buy groceries from, so like Kraft or Del Monte is not selling me corn.
Right.
Cooperative has to buy it. They probably got 200 independent grocers and then they ship it out to everybody. The cooperative actually offered to give me another location. There was a bigger, ours is about 6,000 square feet. There was another location that was probably about 20,000 square feet, 20,000 square feet. A big market. It was called Asbury Market. And, I guess they borrowed money and they weren't paying it back or wasn't being run right because the store had been there forever. And basically they're like, hey, you can have the store. Just, here's what the loan is, continue the payment. So I could have had a store for free. At this point, I kind of figured if I do this, I'm in the grocery business for life.
Right. You're stuck there. Yeah.
Yeah. And during this time, I'm still doing my graphics, other stuff at night. And I started wholesaling cigars in Chicago.
Right. Now you put them in liquor stores, right? You put cabinets in liquor stores,
clubs, restaurants, anywhere. It was during the boom. And it started because I had an uncle who called me and he's like, hey, we get a lot of people asking for cigars. I know you're into cigars. Can you help us out? So my brother had a friend whose father happened to be a distributor. You may know of him. His name was Bob Ash at the time. And I went in there, no tobacco license, nothing. I said, look, I got to buy some cigars from my uncle's shop, whatever. So I found him this jewelry cabinet that I had shipped to a store. I converted it into a humidor for him, filled it up. It was 8 feet. I'm like, you're good to go, Unc. Figuring I'm never going to hear from this guy again.
Right.
2 weeks later says, hey, we need more cigars. Like they're almost all gone. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? It was like right during the boom. So I'm like, oh.
Wait a minute.
I need to do this in other places. So that was literally my shtick. I went to anywhere I saw that could have cigars. I'd ask who the owner was. I said, listen, would you like to sell cigars? I think, I'd love to have the cigar after dinner. He was like, oh, I don't know nothing about cigars. I go, oh, that's where I come in. I make life easy for you. You tell me how much space you want to give me. 3 feet, 4 feet, 6 feet, 8 feet. I'll bring you a humidor. I'll fill it up. It won't cost you a dime. Once a month, I'll come in. We'll tally up what you sold. You keep 15%. You give me the rest. And I had like 30, 40 accounts around the Chicagoland area. So I got started in cigars. So I was doing that while in the grocery business, with my graphics. And then
wait, back up for a second. You put it in their store and they only got 15%?
They were happy. They were making 15% for nothing. They didn't want nothing to do with it.
Now I know where your negotiation skills started right out of the gate. That was
not one person ever argued. because it was a layup for them. No money on.
Right.
You know, you could make a lot more than 15% if you want to buy them from me.
Right. True.
Right. And I got nothing to do with it. But if you want me to fill this up, buy the humidor, invest in your place, 15%. And everybody was making 50% for doing nothing. Didn't even have to buy nothing. So it was really not a bad offer when you think about it. And no one ever said no. I mean, if they wanted to sell cigars. So it worked out really good. And then at that time, when I was getting seriously into cigars and distributing, I was looking to open up a cigar shop in Winnetka, Illinois. The landlord was McDonald's, and I was going back and forth on the lease for about a year. And I was doing.
So you're getting ready to so you're thinking, okay, if I'm making this work and I'm going to open up a store. I'm just going to have my own cigar store.
The store was different. I met a friend in North Carolina, actually 2 friends. And my friend talked about doing a cigar shop. I'm like, look, I just took over the family business. I can't start doing a cigar shop, you know, because he wanted to do it here in Florida, the first Smoke Inn. I'm like, I can't do a cigar shop in Florida and whatnot. So he said, let's do one in Chicago. So we're going to open the second Smoke Inn location in Winnetka, Illinois.
How did your dad feel about that?
He wasn't involved in the process.
No, but you were kind of the heir apparent to the grocery store at this point.
You know, so it's funny you say that, because if you ever watched the documentary that I made when I released our 25th anniversary cigar, which I made a cigar in his name, the Raji.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that later. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll talk about it later then. But if you watch the documentary, which was like an hour long car ride to Miami, where I just talked about him, I actually apologized to him, because in his mind, I was the heir apparent. In my mind, I was killing time.
Right. Right.
You know, he's literally told me all my life, you know, you better find something to do because you can't hack the grocery business. I mean, that was my father's motivational speech, right? You know, so, you know, I'm thinking he wants me to have nothing to do with it. You know, he's literally told me my whole life, grocery's not for you. You know, obviously because he wanted something better, you know.
Right.
Whatever. But, you know, so in his mind, I'm the heir apparent. Me, I'm just still killing time. So we weren't on the same wavelength. It wasn't until I got older and many, many years later where I realized, yeah, I just kind of bailed on him. Because what happened was, when I was offered that second grocery store location, I really had to think about it. So I said, I told my dad, I'm going to go to Florida for a week and take a trip, really, really think about it. Because I was smart enough to know that if I made this move, this is my career. You know, when you're early 20s, you really don't know what your career is. You're feeling everything out. You're trying different things, trying to see where you should land, you know. But I knew that this move, it would be cemented, right? So I came down here for 7 days. Worked every day in my friend's shop. Met all the guys. Had a great time. And he says to me, he says, you know what? Why don't you fuck that shop in Chicago? Why don't you just be my partner? We'll run this shop, you know, and then we can build another one down here. Kind of like Florida.
Yeah.
You know, it was nice. So we worked it out. And I think at about the 12 or 13 or 14 day mark, my father calls me and he says, hey, are you supposed to be back? Am I crazy? Are you supposed to be back by now? I'm like, I didn't have the heart to tell him. I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'm coming back. What do you mean? Yeah, I think I'm just going to stay down here. Just, you know, whatever. He was pissed.
Yeah.
Disowned me a couple times. I think his first 4 or 5 visits while I was living here ended with, I'm never coming back here again. Like literally, that was like the end of his trip. Yeah, you know, I didn't really realize how, you know, it hurt him, and I just kind of left. And I know from his perspective is because he wasn't being upfront and honest with everything about him. Because, you know, it's funny because we have a joke, my brother and I have, and it's their upbringing. It's not their fault, but they're like dream killers. You know, you dream of something. No, that's bullshit. You must suffer. You got to suffer.
Right.
If you ain't suffering, it's not working, you know?
Right.
You know, I was upfront honest with him about shit. And, yeah, it took him a while before he really kind of, stopped being upset about it. And it took him really a while before he started realizing what I was becoming in the industry. Yeah. Cause he has no clue. But he starts seeing, he was going to trade shows with me all the time, and then he starts seeing I'm walking around like nobody talks to me now. I'm being stopped every 10 minutes.
Right.
And then the other owners and the manufacturer talking to my dad, telling him about my bid. So he really eventually got to the point where, there's something about a parent. And I'm trying to keep this in my mind as my kids get old, because there's definitively a time where you know more than them about everything, right? You know what's best for them.
Sure. Absolutely.
And as they get older, there comes a time where you really don't know what's best for them. It's not as sure. It's not as black and white.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to visually see that happen to my father. And that's a great testament to parenthood. You know what I'm saying? Where you can see that my child may know more than me at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to try to keep that in the back of my head when my kids get older, because I'm definitely into that stage of, I know what's best for you. Trust me, you have no clue what's going on, But I commend him. It was a big thing for him. And that's kind of how I got in the cigar business.
What's something from your dad that he taught you that you still hold today, that you're like, this is something my dad taught me?
I think customer service.
Yeah.
And it's really funny because I have this conversation with my kids all the time. They don't know how lucky they are, because I go out of my way to give them life lessons, explanation, a story. My dad never looked at me and said, son, we never had that conversation.
Because I said so.
Yeah. I mean, you were expected to observe and learn. I mean, that's how I learned. My dad never gave me a tutorial on customer service or whatever. I just watched my dad's relationships with all these patrons. So you got to remember now, I've been in this grocery store before I moved to Florida. I moved here, I think, at 25, 26. I've been there since 5 years old. These people saw which arm I broke in what year, saw me graduate, middle school, junior high, in high school, football games, really, really cool if I'd have a great game and to be in the local paper, and my own patrons are in the grocery store opening the paper. Hey, good job. So
right.
I just got to see it, So, I mean, I think and of course, our culture is really based on hospitality. It's a very, the Middle Eastern culture, outside of what you watch on news and bombings and all that bullshit. It's really a culture. If anybody likes reading, Albert Camus writes about it really good in a short story called The Guest. It's really about consideration, being considerate and hospitality. Their hospitality is almost at a level of compulsion. It must be. It's not even like optional, So that's the way my dad was with our patrons. They bought us pies. They invited us to their kids' graduations, weddings, and most of these people were still family. Many, many years after I left, I would see them when I go back to town. And unfortunately, my dad sold the store eventually, and there's no place to congregate and go find anybody anymore.
Right.
But I think that's what I learned. My dad had exemplary customer service. He treated everybody really, really good, even his employees. I mean, I think that's where I learned it from. My dad, if you look at how my dad, what he did for some of the people that worked for him, lives changed and whatever. I think that's where I learned them. I mean, the work ethic is natural, but I think that was just embedded into us as kids. You got to earn your keep. Nothing was a free ride ever. Yeah, he was good to us. Overly, really generous, more than he had to be, but it wasn't out of hey, you're no, we did good stuff. We worked hard, and he was good to us. But I think really customer service and how you just have to be really appreciative. And we are. That's kind of how my company is run. I mean, I don't take for granted anybody that shops to us. I work very hard. I imagine people who shop with us work very hard. That money's, earned not easily. And when they spend it with us, it's a privilege. It's a privilege for us, and that's how we take it. One of the slogans that we use is, you're never just an order number. And that was my
Right.
hesitation to moving online. It was actually Jonathan Drew who talked me into it. I was great at this in-person thing. I knew nobody could duplicate what I'm doing in a store. That's why I'll never forget a big lesson. We had this little small grocery store. And when I was growing up, Dominic's was opening up literally like a block away. one city block away, and Dominic's is like Publix down here, whatever your name, right? Big. And I was like, what the fuck? I mean, my dad didn't even phase. I'm like, how could you not? Because they'll never compete with us. They can't do. First off, we had an old-fashioned butcher counter, so like wood blocks that you had to shave down at the end of the night. Everything was wrapped in paper. Price was written on a pencil, like you see in the busboy.
Right.
And our community, that's the way they like to eat. They don't want to go buy some prepackaged piece of meat that had a sticker on it, And my dad treated everybody great in the neighborhood. And sure as shit, he was right. Our business kept growing, even with Dominic's there. And in fact, when my dad was a journeyman butcher, and he always mastered the grocery side, the meat market side. So he didn't know groceries. So my uncle retired. My uncle really didn't know how to order grocery. I was kind of in the dark. And I remember I'm making a lot of calls, because when you're in an order book, say you're ordering Del Monte, it tells you who the Del Monte buyer is for the co-op. And I would call that buyer and say, listen, I don't understand what this means. How does this work? What's a roto? What's
right?
One for. So once I really learned how to order grocery, we were able to compete in groceries too. And we had some of the best years up until I left. So, it was just a learning experience, but the way he treated the consumers and the staff, honestly, I think is probably the greatest lesson. And it wasn't a lesson he taught me. I just watched. When you're exposed to it, you watch.
Yeah, I feel you. So, when people talk about you and your stores, and I look at all the retailers, obviously in the nation and stuff like that, you've built a community, and you did it online, the Smoke Inn Social, which is a very loyal community. They have found each other. They will literally fly in from all over the nation for someone's birthday. Obviously, the event, which we'll talk about. But you somehow transitioned and understood that it was customer service oriented, and you brought it online. And I mean, handwritten notes from people in shipping and all that.
So customer service and community is two different things. My community really didn't come till later. Customer service, we had it down pat, but it was really Jonathan who talked me into making the leap to online. Like, John, I'm late in the game, and what's going to make me different? There's nothing out there that's got, how am I going to catch up?
You were late to the game. You were definitely late to the game.
We're really late to the game.
Yeah.
And one of the things was handwritten letters. And that wasn't a marketing tactic. I remember turning our website on, and no orders coming through. So when that first order came through, like 2 or 3 weeks later or something, I was like, oh my God, I felt compelled to write this guy a thank you note. Hey, thank you so much. And then I just kept it going. And I'm going to tell you something, in the early days, more than anything else we've ever done, more people say, I cannot believe. Now, I see there's probably about 15 companies that write handwritten notes now, but I'm
sure.
When I did it, nobody was doing it. And he goes, I can't believe in this day and age, someone's writing a handwritten letter. And even when it got too much for me to do, then I made sure I did any first-time customer, and then that became too much. But somebody in my organization writes a handwritten letter every order that goes out. And it's important. So we're able to give good service. You had a problem, you called us. So even the online service, but it really wasn't until later where I really started to learn how to do community. Because I was late to Facebook. I really wasn't into social media, right? I was a remnant of the bulletin board days. Like, I got on bulletin boards, right? And that's kind of where I started to build the community. And we had a couple nice things that happened to us that put us on the national map. We had the Drew Estate launch with Ming, which, started out as a store exclusive for us. And then the Microblend series, which really put us up on the map. Till this day, I still say Tatuai Anarchy is the biggest and most successful store exclusive ever made for anybody. But it wasn't until I really got into social media, and when the guy who was doing it I had a guy doing it for my company, but he did what he did. But when he quit, I took it over. And it wasn't until I took it over that I really started to foster, and wherever seeds were planted really started to grow on social media. And I became active in groups, and I became fostering. And it wasn't until Alex actually came to me and said, look, you got to build this private group. I'm like, do we really need a private group? We got a Facebook page. Because I didn't understand the difference between what having a Facebook page or a private group was. And I think that's where my mental and psychological and spiritual revival came in, because back when I had that one little store, because at this time now we had 5, 6, 7, 8 stores out. But when I had that one little store that I fell in love with and made me move down here, a lot of that exchange and even working in the stores was very fulfilling. I did not work in an office. Right now, you see me sitting in an office. I worked at the table that's right outside this window for many, many years, even after I built this store, because I liked being on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody seeing who walked in. And then unfortunately, it's not the handful of guys who knows you, it's everybody who knows you. Then you can get no work done out there. Then you got to go hide in here now to try to get any work done during the day. But social media and the social group revitalized that, because I lost that connectivity. I don't get to interact much, believe it or not, with the people who come to my store every day. That got lost.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes after work, I'll hang around for an hour or two, maybe have one drink and a cigar and bullshit with the guys before I go home. But now I got kids. So I
Right.
used to home at 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, and my wife really didn't care, or would sometimes come join me. And I got to get home to have a life with my family. So you get pulled in a lot of directions. So I lost that. And that was kind of a renaissance, a revival in my psyche, the smoking social group and social media, because it brought that all back to life. Because now it's a 24/7 thing. You know, I sleep 5
Mm-hmm.
hours. So even if I'm up at 2 a.m, I'm interacting with people.
Right.
You may not see my messages until tomorrow, until you wake up, but I got to respond, and you might respond back to me. So it was great for me. And it's kind of, I feel like it was a second coming of myself in this business.
It gave you an avenue to communicate with your base. Yeah.
And really build the cultural side of the online store. More, you know, where we always had good customer service, but it's hard to define culture, you know, just taking an order and handwriting a letter. You're making
Right.
So the use of really getting into social media and connecting with people, especially on Facebook. For me, Instagram doesn't do it, because it's more of just like and scroll or post.
Yeah, it's not a conversation. It can't become an ongoing conversation. Yeah.
We're not bonding or making any, you know,
What made you start KMA, Kiss My Ash Radio? What was was it because you didn't start? What I found interesting is that when you had that, the natural incentive would be like, hey, I'm going to promote my store. I'm going to promote me and stuff like that. And that really wasn't your angle when you launched it. Matter of fact, you seemed, when you launched it, to go out of your way to not mention your store, not mention what was going on in your store, not mentioning cigars you were coming out with. You were having industry guests. What made you want to do that? Was this a give back thing? Was this just wanting to talk to these guys?
At first, we would actually instruct people, please don't mention smoking. Like if you would come on my show.
I remember.
We don't talk about smoking on the show. So the program director, one of the biggest stations down here, his name was Mike the Greek, walked in one day. So I was, at that time, I don't even know if he still has anything to do with the cigar business, but Cigar Dave, like him or hate him, doesn't matter. He was he was the first. He had a syndicated show. He was on Sirius Radio. He took it for everybody. And this is when nobody was doing it. So he paved the way no matter what. We were an advertiser on his syndicated West Palm show. So in syndication, the local station played the show, and we were one of the advertisers. And it takes the local advertisers to support a show locally, right? If you can't get enough local people to support it, then that then you can't.
Show's not there
because you're covered. Yeah. So I guess our advertising wasn't enough, and he couldn't get more. We were advertising with him for 2 years. The show got dropped, and I guess the program director knew we were advertising the show, came up to me and said, "Hey, you need to do a show. You know, we're not doing a Cigar Dave show anymore." I said, "I know." Like, you should do it. I said, "Bro, I need to do a project. I need a hole in the head." Those were my exact words to him.
I believe that.
At that time, one of my workers worked at iHeartMedia, you know, which was back then was Clear Channel. And he says, "No, man, you can do it." So it was actually one of my coworkers talked me into doing it. We signed a 13-week contract. We're going to do this for 13 weeks, try it, be done with it, and whatever. And I was shocked at how many people actually responded to the show. So after the 13 weeks, which by the way, it was only a 1-hour show.
Mhm.
Because we couldn't conceive of what are you going to talk about for a fucking hour? You got to remember at this point, there was no William Cooper. How about that cigar? These 4-hour telethons. There was nothing.
Right.
So like what the fuck are we going to talk about for an hour? So and then we realized an hour was nothing, especially when you have to have commercial time, right, to pay for your. So we went to 2 hours, and that's when I really said, look, I really want to make this something that consumers would want to listen to. I wasn't a fan of Cigar Dave's show and how it was done and how he spoke but he was the only game in town if you wanted to advertise anything, right? And I still respected what he did. I was going to make a friendlier show. My whole base of the show was we really kind of wanted to interact what guys do in a cigar shop, because the best conversations are having when you're sitting down having a cigar and talking with the guy next to you. So for it to be legitimate and for people to want to get behind it, I didn't want it to be a smoke-in show. And there were many, many years where that show was played in other retail cigar shops on Saturday morning. And a lot of people didn't know I was a retailer. Was small. I wasn't well known. And we got away with that for years. And then as my company grew and, our business grew and our reach grew, it was unavoidable. Everybody kind of knew who I was, and they start seeing less. There were posters of me up in other retailer shops. I mean, it was great. And then you saw what's happening. So now we don't hide it anymore because there's really no way to hide it. So now we will talk about our business and what we do because it's part of the umbrella of who we are.
I mean, you were the Celestial, went the commercials. And I have to say the transition, because I was, a guest early on, not super early, but early enough to remember going to the studio, and we'd do it from there. And we couldn't smoke inside the studio. But I remember the format now that I like of not having commercials, because I remember being in that studio and all of a sudden there'd be the dynamic. And I do like everybody in the room. It was good because the dynamics in the room were good. You get on this roll and you're like, okay, we got to stop. We got to go to commercial. And you had to go to commercial. It was required. So then we stopped whenever you got this trend going, and then you'd have to full stop. And then we'd all sit around there for whatever 5 minutes of commercials playing, and you come back. And then you lost the momentum. You lost what was going really cool out of it. So
some of the commercial time is our commercials that we're playing out, right?
Sure.
But then some of the commercial times, I think it's like about 2 per hour, were commercial times in the local cities that had to be sold, right? That was how the radio station made their money. So when we were on, I think 4, 5, 6 cities at one point, we call that a hard break. When you got to take a hard break, that's when they're all airing their commercials at the same time.
You're doing it. Yeah, you're doing it no matter what. Yeah.
You got to get off
I remember.
No matter what.
Mid-sentence.
You got to go. It's that time, so the transition was really, really, COVID was the best thing for me to happen to KMA Talk Radio. We were in fact supposed to have Tanya Borschwitz on the show. She was going to drive down from Orlando. And, this is still early on, so we were still clueless what was ahead. With this COVID thing was going around. But we got a message from iHeartMedia that said, hey, listen, you can't come on the show. You can't come in the building. Only, I forget what they called it, needed
essential employees or whatever it was. Yeah.
We're allowed in. I said, well, what about our equipment? Well, we'll have to figure out how to get that to you. So we had to cancel that show with Tanya. And I think we didn't get our equipment back for like 2 weeks. And then we still didn't know what to do with it. And it took us like another 2 weeks to figure out StreamYard and which one to do. So I think we were off the air for about 4 weeks. And I think the first virtual one that came back was, I think Rocky was our first guest where we weren't in the studio. And instead of doing, and I never liked commercials because people zoned out during commercials, but you still have to monetize your costs for doing it.
Sure.
So where it was mostly audio in the beginning, everybody was listening to our show, whether it be podcast or terrestrial radio. Now we're full-blown video, right? Most people are literally watching the show. Even if they don't catch it live, they'll catch it later. They will watch it instead of, so why give them a chance to leave? We just went to banner ads across the bottom. Watching it, they're not going to leave. They're going to see your ad no matter what, instead of getting up and going to the bathroom when you're playing an audio commercial, know? And, or worse, tune off. Because at least now when the advertising is going across, we're still having dialogue. We're still talking. And it worked out much better. And then we didn't have to always have guests coming down in the studio. We could have you on from like what we're doing now. So
Right.
the coming off the studio and terrestrial radio was the best thing that happened for KMA Talk Radio.
I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, it had to be good for you from a lifestyle standpoint, because you could jump on at home, go walk onto the patio, open up your laptop. You don't have to get in the car, give up your Saturday to go drive over to the studio, drive home.
It was only about a year ago I started doing it from home. I was still coming here because I wanted to smoke. I wanted to smoke, and I can't smoke at home. So I was still coming here. Now I moved it outside, but now my office is officially being under construction. So it's going to be from home from now on. So from that standpoint, yeah, absolutely.
But so just to put it, go ahead.
We're able to have guys like Coop on. We're able to have, Paul when he lives far away beyond. So it just made the show really all the way better, all the way.
So what is just like, I mean, and to put a close on the KMA part of it, what's something you remember that just went just off the rails, either good or bad, that was completely unexpected when you did that, whether it was with the Zoom style or whether it was the in studio, just something that you're just like, wow.
Well,
good or bad.
As far as what, like technical issues or guests?
No, or a guest, or just, and you don't have to name names. You don't have to name names if it's like a weird thing.
Half of them anyway. But one of the funniest episodes was that we had the crypto guy on it. Crypto was just coming out and no one could really understand it. And what I found very odd is not only could no one understand it, no one could fucking explain it to me. Right? Explain it to me, and I still don't fucking get it. So I had this guy who wrote a book come on as a guest. And I got so frustrated, I just kicked him off. We just ended the interview. All right, we're done. Bye. Hang up the phone. I couldn't take him no more. It was a really funny episode. Didn't see that coming, but you just got to the point where I felt like I was going around in circles, still not learning anything, not making sense. So, how fucking wrong was I? But,
well, yeah. Maybe we should have listened to that guy.
Yeah, really. So it's hard to understand. Even now, people still don't understand it.
Yeah. Let's shift gears. Let's talk about, got to have several more questions, and I don't know how long we've been doing this, but the Great Smoke. Again, there's other multi-vendor events out there. That wasn't earth-shattering as far as, hey, I'm going to go ahead and do my own event. But you always put a spin on something. And I remember when you started Great Smoke, and I literally remember sitting in your office after the Great Smoke was over, and you were already thinking of ideas for next year. And I think, aside from the million things that are great about the Great Smoke, you had the idea of, I'm going to change the theme, which nobody has done, to my knowledge. Nobody's ever done in a multi-vendor event. They'll have the same one. And look, there are some good ones. There are some really bad ones. But you said, look, I'm going to make this a different spectacle every year. And I think that was the secret sauce to, one, doing something different than everybody else does. And then how you just keep amping it up and what goes into it. But talk about, how you came up with the Great Smoke and how you wanted it to be different.
So once again, Great Smoke, inspired by another person in the cigar industry, Eric Espinosa. So I wanted to do a multi-vendor event. At that time, there hadn't been one in South Florida since Aficionado had given up Florida. So probably about 10 years at that time. And we just couldn't find a venue anywhere. Couldn't find a venue where you could have the Great Smoke. So we stopped doing it. So a couple of years later, I think it's my 10th anniversary, and we gave away a Harley. 4 companies were involved: Oliva, Rocky, Camacho, and Drew Estate. And we gave away a Harley, custom painted Harley. The saddlebags, the hard saddlebags were like cigar boxes. They had company logos on it and our logo on it. And that event probably had in the midst of 650 plus people out in our courtyard. It was pretty epic. And, here's a funny thing from the past. Mike Argenti. Do you know Mike Argenti?
Yeah.
Mike Argenti at the time, Perdomo Cigars, after the event's over, he can't stop talking about the event. Literally, he's like, where do you go from here? I mean, I've been to JRMC events like this. Like, this was absurd. He would not, he was drinking a little bit, whatever, but wouldn't stop talking about how absurd this event was and how amazing it was. It's like, I don't see what you do from here. There's nowhere you can go. You're done. And it was literally the next morning. I was coming to the shop because we had regular guys cooking lunch at the shop. And I'm looking at this now empty courtyard. They had 600 plus people in it, motorcycles, everything was all packed. And I said to myself, man, I could just do a multi-vendor event in this courtyard. It was a courtyard that right in front of me. They had a fountain in the middle, some trees in the middle, and walking all around. And there was like a big U of stores. My store was here in the center. And they went like this. And there was Publix over here and Panera over here. I just do it right in the front of the courtyard. And I'll never forget. This was like in September. I said, I'm going to do this event next November. Give me a little over a year still working. Well, I found out a day or two later from Christian Aroa, they saw Franz Blah here at the Hard Rock in Seminole. Now, for those of you who don't know who that was, he's the guy who owned Thompson's, I think, at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And Thompson's just had their version of their multi-vendor event a couple months earlier, which I heard was devastating because it rained out. It was in a parking lot and everybody was walking through like 8 inches of water, right? I got all paranoid. I'm like, why is he at the Hard Rock here? So I said that he's going to do a multi-vendor event at the Hard Rock here, even though it's not his coast. He's all the way at
right.
Why not? So that paranoia rushed me to do the first Great Smoke event, conceived roughly at the end of September, February, October, November, December, January, 4.5 months.
Yeah. Meanwhile, all the holiday stuff going on, trying to, orchestrate that.
Meanwhile, I'm a staff of fucking 5 people.
Mm-hmm.
There's no graphic artist. There's no graphic department. It's like 5 people and they're running the stores, So, but yeah, we pulled it off. It was that was the first Great Smoke. It was in the courtyard, no tents. And it was really funny. It was going to rain. It rained all week and we had nothing covered. If it rained, this would have been Fred. The tickets were carbon paper. If you bought a ticket, you got your yellow copy. We kept the white copy. That was the tickets.
Wow.
Yeah. And we had no tents, not even over the manufacturers. I'll never forget Carlito was baking in the sun. Like we went and found him a hat to put on, whatever. And it was hot, but it was supposed to rain all week. And I was going to be devastated. It rained Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. People were telling me, put a Madonna in my tent, put a Madonna in the window. It keeps raining. I was doing everything. And we woke up to drizzling that day. And I bullshit you not, about 11:30, I swear to God, like a movie, man. Fucking clouds parted, sun came out. And we had an epic first event. And it rained that Sunday, the day after. Crazy. So we had an epic first event. And it wasn't until, I think, event number 14, 13, where the idea to theme it was. So look, as somebody who likes to create things, I didn't want the event to be the same every year.
Right.
I'm a different experience. So that got done by having a bull ride contest, having a dunk tank contest, having a money machine there. So we changed a couple, like what we call them, activations.
Right.
That would give you something new to try. And it wasn't until I think the 14th one or 13th, 14th one where someone bought me an ad. Now, what at this time now I have graphic artists, they would theme the lanyards, the print material. So the Great Smoke, like it would be like metals. So all the lanyards look metal.
Mm-hmm.
Or metal. Mm-hmm. One year was like elements, water, fire, So that's what was themed. And he shows me his full page ad. I'm like, oh, Disco Globe. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Go Globe. No, it's like it's a nebula. His theme was that it was gonna be like stellar stuff.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That was gonna be. I'm like, oh no, I thought it was a Disco Globe, and that's where it clicked. Wait a second here. Why don't we just do this? Why don't we make it a Disco Globe? Why don't we just make a Disco 70s Great Smoke? And that's how, which became so much easier than coming up with other.
Right.
We had casino one night, coming up with other little things to create just individual different experience to a whole fucking themed event. And I think that's where it got its legs. And you're right. I think that's what makes our event unlike any other, no matter what anybody does. And I tell you something, my father always said growing up, never talk good about yourself. You let other people talk good shit about you. But I can say this is the best event in the country. And I only say that because it's what I've heard from everybody. And, Steve Sock is a good friend of mine, and he does these multi-vendor events all over the country for some other people. And, the guy is definitely a curmudgeon. And when he went out one year, I think it was after the second year we did it themed, I think it was the last luau. And he said, this is hands down, publicly, in a public statement, by far, not even close, the best cigar event in the country. I think that's when we knew it was going big. And
yeah, it's an amazing event. Yeah. Well, yeah, the big one next this next year. We're at the end of the year now, so okay. I want to talk about the 25th anniversary cigar honoring your dad.
So that was literally an inspiration by Carlito Fuente and George Padron.
Mm-hmm.
So the big news, during COVID was the Legend Cigar that they were going to do a project together, which it's the two legends of this industry. It's like somebody couldn't have dreamed of a better project to try to do and whatnot. Of course, it took like 3 or 4 years to finally make it, but I just thought it was an awesome tribute. They wanted to do something for their dads, and George was going to make the Fuente version, but Fuente was going to make the Padron version. And it just dawned upon me. I said, it's a shame their dads can't see that. And I'm like, why do I got to wait till my dad's not here to do something? So we had a 25th anniversary coming up. I just thought it'd be a no cooler way than to name a cigar after my father that's still on our shelves that we still sell. We made a shitload of. And, it's 5 years old now.
How did he react to it?
They're old school people, Fred.
Yeah.
They don't, I can count on maybe 4 fingers how many times my dad has said, I love you, generation. So, but you could tell very proud and signing boxes for people, they're not very expressive people, but you see it and he's really, really touched by it, we had ashtrays made with his name on. My dad's name is on ashtrays and thousands of consumers all over the country. It's a cool thing,
Yeah.
Cool thing. So I was glad I was able to do that for him. And Willie Herrera made the blend, and they were rolled here in Miami at the Altaton de Bronze factory, and couldn't have asked to have a better project done. It was very cool.
What's something not cigar related that lately has happened to you that just really excited you?
Oh, okay. That's not cigar related.
Yeah.
Gotten really excited about. Good question. And the only reason why it's a hard question to answer is 90% of my daily living existence is cigar related. So most of my of my excitement, that's where it comes from. Well, no, that's cigar related. No, that was cigar related. I don't know. I mean, honestly, the truth be told, most of it just comes from my kids.
Yeah.
It's not cigar related. It's my family, watching them grow, watching my oldest daughter become literally a woman in front of my eyes, going on overnight trips now. I mean, it's crazy watching my son trying to mold him to be a man. His basketball turbine is tonight, so I got to take him tonight at 7:00 for this year's basketball season. So that's the stuff I get excited about. It's not cigar related. It's nothing extraordinary or complex. It's pretty simple, but what excites me.
Yeah. Anybody that knows you knows that, you're about family. How do you maintain a work-life balance for that?
It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy, and it's really not easy. I think we talked about this on KMA this weekend when you put yourself out there, which, not everybody does. And I think we talked about the show, how it's so recommended not to put yourself out there because now you're a little bit a part of everybody's life. And one, I'll tell you straight up, you have to have a very understanding wife, extremely understanding wife. I don't think I could have built what I've done with a more needy wife. And I've seen them. I've seen it. My wife was always 100% supportive of anything I had to do for the business, which helps a lot. You just make the time, you know. Fortunately for me, I think where I got lucky is I really didn't have kids till later in life. So a lot of the struggle of really long hours, overnight working, because when you had no graphics guy, I was the graphics department.
You're doing all the work. You're making no money at that point. You're grinding.
Yeah. So
yeah, I got $200 to last a week, you know, myself for food.
Really
I mean,
didn't have kids, and they were early on. They were young. So luckily, by the time they got to the point where they needed me to be there for their first recital and stuff like that, I was, thank God, more efficiently staffed. That me leaving at 4 o'clock, not devastating anybody. It's not
right.
Doable. So, but it's work. It's work. I got a schedule. I mean, honestly, you know, I have an amazing person who basically handles my schedule. Like, for instance, this show here. I tell everybody, don't book your stuff with me. I'm terrible at it. And it keeps me on point and keeps me where I'm going. You know?
Yeah.
I look at my calendar, it's already on there, and I got to go to my son's game, which helps a lot. When you're being pulled in a lot of different directions, it helps to have one person that can just keep you steered right, because the head's always in a lot of different places, and it's hard to focus sometimes where you need to be or where you need to go. So that helps a lot.
All right. 3 more questions. I don't let you go. What keeps you up at night? What scares you?
You know, this is a good question. I'm going to go back to my mentor, one of my mentors. I was blessed with a lot of great people in my life, who taught me a lot of great things. And it wasn't so much like how to do things. It was just like life, how to go about looking at life stuff, you know? And Sal Fontana, who basically was with Camacho Cigars up until his death, you know, dedicated 40 years of his life to the industry, 40, 45 plus, I don't know. Once told me, if moving heaven and earth won't change something, why worry about it? It's the best advice anybody ever gave me. I'm pretty good at lying down, putting my head in the pillow and not worrying about it. You know,
that's good.
If I'm worrying, that means I'm not sleeping, but that means there's something I really need to worry about, you know? You will learn if you tally, if you start keeping score. And here's my advice to anybody. If you really start keeping score, you'll soon realize 9, if not more, out of 10 times when you're worried about something, it was nothing to worry about.
Yeah. Never happens or wasn't a big deal.
You thought it was. Right? So it's a lot of wasted energy, because worrying is wasteful energy. It's energy that your mind, keeps you from thinking, keeps you from enjoying yourself. A lot of wasteful energy. So I just kind of deal with it as it comes, you know, and I don't worry. I'm really good. This is what I'm trying to teach my daughter now, as she's getting ready to go to college and, you know, live life, because and anticipating where the problems could be and learning how to avoid it. Like, you know, that's going to be problematic, you know, let's not do that. And that's where my worry comes in, where I start trying to figure out, perfect example, the first digital experience where we did during COVID, where we had the big production of The Great Smoke, right? Michael Herklotz comes down to co-host a show with me. And this is the Friday before a live 8-hour broadcast Saturday, live. And we go to a Greek restaurant, a really good Greek restaurant. I ordered the octopus salad. He orders the octopus salad. My immediate reaction, without even thinking, is, no. Like, you're not having the octopus salad, or I'm not having the octopus salad. And
one of us doesn't have one of these.
And he's like, what? What is it? I said, listen, bro, I don't care. There's a great restaurant, but you never know when you can have a bad piece of fish, and we're not eating the same shit, because we're not both going to be sick tomorrow.
Right.
So I will think that far into something, which really prevents a lot of shit to worry about, you know? But yeah, I'm not really a big worrier. I'm really not. I think that was the lesson that Sal told me, because I was really worried about something, you know? And, you know, I saw it many times. I remember when S-Chip we were all fighting S-Chip. Man, every manufacturer, what are you doing? What are you here? What are you doing? every guy thought it was the end of the world. In fact, I
Yeah,
had this,
they did.
I had this one guy who was in the industry, sold the company, big company, good friend, would call me every time disaster. End of the world. I'm like, dude, you do this every time. You gotta relax. Just deal with it. You figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, and I think just experience teaches you that worrying doesn't do anything. Solving. You're better off solving than worrying.
Yeah. Well, you are good. You are good about having a backup plan. I remember when Herklotz was not going to get out because of the snowstorm. And then you called me and said, hey, Herklotz may not make it. Can you do this? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I can do it. So you send me the script because I have no idea what I said yes to. You send me the script. And every minute of this virtual 8 hours is scripted down to the minute, the second, what's going to happen. And I remember immediately looking at that spreadsheet and immediately calling Herklotz and going, you get on a plane. I don't care what you have to do. I do not want to do, I'll do this, but I do not want to have to do this.
We had index cards.
But you had a plan. You had a plan.
Index cards ready for you too.
I know. But you pivoted and go, okay, I've got to have something to do. All right. What's a talent or hobby that nobody knows you have?
Oh. That's a good question. What's a talent? I don't think I have a talent that anybody.
Really? Like throw grapes in the air and catch them in your mouth, or you mean pancakes?
Really, I mean,
sure, why not? I'm calling it a talent.
I don't consider that a talent. I think. What was the choice? Talent or what? Hobby?
Or hobby.
I think I'm a little bit of like a little bit of a nerdy gamer.
Okay.
I'm not a hardcore gamer, but like I'm one of those guys, like you'd never know growing up. I actually like playing Dungeons and Dragons. I like role playing games. But here's the thing. I'll get into something, and then as soon as it starts taking up too much of my time, I cut it out completely.
You're done. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're in it for the experience. You're in it for the experience.
Yeah.
You experienced it. And you go, okay.
But I'm
I experienced it
like that.
Yeah. Yes. I get that. I totally get that.
My wife got me a Wii one year when it came out.
Yeah.
I think
that was fun for 6 months.
Let me tell you something. I got into Mario Kart so bad. I was up playing people internationally all over night. I was playing Mario Kart all night. 6 months after that, I disconnected the Wii. We've never had a console in my house ever again.
You know what the cool thing about the Wii is I was bowling and playing tennis against my, at the time, 85-year-old grandmother. And she loved it. And I mean, so it was a cool thing. All right, last question. You're given a one-way ticket to any moment in history. You can't change anything when you go back, but you get to experience. Where are you going to go?
Ooh. To go and visit and come back.
Yep. You're just going to go something throughout history. You're going to go visit. You can't change anything. It's not like a go back and kill Hitler or anything like that. It's just, you're going to go and experience that moment in history and just be there. And maybe it's just a time to hang out, an era that you would like to have seen. So you didn't plan on thinking on this show, did you?
Yeah, and that's such a big question. I think honestly, simpler minds can answer them quicker. I mean, I'm not that hardcore of a sports guy, so any of the sports stuff, I was kind of alive in what I wanted seen. I saw Jordan play live multiple times. I saw him win.
Right.
So I was alive and watched the Bears and play in '85. Saw the Cubs win the World Series recently. I was alive for those. So if you're going back to an era or something, because what's going to happen is, I hate this because I'll say something stupid now, and like 2 hours later, flop. That would have been a great idea.
Why did I say this? Yeah. I want to go meet William Shakespeare. Yeah.
I think if I was attracted to an era, that I would probably want to go visit and to go see. Because let's be practical, right? Like, how long are you going back for?
As long as you want.
Okay. Because you definitely would kind of like the Egyptian times are cool. You see what really went on and how, pyramids and stuff like that. Because I actually went to pyramids a couple years ago. But other than that, what the fuck are you doing? I think it would be like the Prohibition days.
Yeah. Okay.
The clappers, the what do you call them? I'm blanking.
Bootleggers and
No, the bars.
Yeah, speakeasies and stuff like that. And yeah.
I think that would have been a fun era if you weren't getting shot up by gangsters. But yeah, I think.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's a downside. There's a downside. Yeah,
I think that.
I mean, Egypt had the asps, and I mean, yeah, there's a downside to all of them.
Yeah, but I think that would be a fun era to really actually go and live for a week, or maybe see and check out. But I think that'd be it.
I like it. Abe, tell everybody where to find you.
You can find me at Smoking Cigars. Our headquarters are in Boynton Beach, Florida. That's where I usually work out of. Our website's www.smoking.com. The Great Smoke, our 20th anniversary.
Greatest show on earth.
The greatest show on earth. Our biggest one ever. I see that every year, but we really do work very hard to make it bigger every year. But this one's over the top. So I think it's going to go backwards. I think 2027. You can't keep beating it. I had to go over the top on this one. So 2027, I'm not going to probably say it's going to be bigger, but this year's a big year. Tickets go on sale in November every year. And you could get more information about that. Thegreatsmoke.com. That page will be updated as we get closer to the beginning of November. It's got a lot of information on it now, but they're constantly working on it. But honestly, the best way to start every Saturday, in my opinion, is KMA Talk Radio. 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Light up a cigar, grab your favorite drink, and come along and kill a couple hours having fun talking with us every Saturday morning. That's one of my favorite times of the week.
Awesome. Well, Abe, thank you so much for joining me on the show. Thanks for everybody listening. Go visit Abe. Go to the event, because we know 2026 is over the top, and 2027 is just going to be folding chairs around in a circle, because they can't get better than that. All right. Thanks, Abe.
Thank you, Fred.